Eric, Max, welcome. First of all, how do you differentiate Smurfs boosting, others on purpose, or players who just want to play at lower ranks with their friends, or like a streamer making a challenge? How do you guys make sure that we're punishing the right people?
Yeah, so we know that smurfing is a broad kind of category that encompasses a lot of different actions, things like boosting and account sharing, but we also know the importance of like social play. So we don't want to compromise that at all, but what we are looking at in 11.09 is to roll out multi-factor authentication, or MFA, to make sure that we're targeting people primarily who are sharing accounts, and then later for our Ascendant Plus players to improve match quality.
Why shared accounts? So can you talk a little bit more about those shared accounts? What's the problem with them?
Yeah, so shared accounts are some of the most egregious targets that we found. These are accounts that are moving between multiple players, primarily focused on rank manipulation and account boosting.
Could you explain why are Ascendant 3 players like Smurfs a bigger issue when it comes to smurfing compared to lower ranks? Why is that?
Yeah, so we're really focused on the Ascendant Plus match quality. We know win trading can be a problem, and so we really want to target that as well. But we've identified that a lot of Smurf accounts are also associated with Ascendant Plus. Okay. So we're starting there, and then we're hoping to roll this out to additional ranks after the beta, and we identify a plan.
So you've also mentioned ranked manipulation. So how are you planning on doing this rank manipulation report? Because a lot of players who are frustrated to get obliterated in-game are probably going to report their opponents for rank manipulation. So how do you guys see that?
Yeah, so we're going to collect a lot of data when we add this new reporting category, and we know that there is inconsistency at different ranks. We want to make sure that someone who's having a good game isn't getting reported or being actioned on. So we're going to collect a lot of data first, make sure that we have a really good algorithm and understanding, and then action on that over time.
So yeah, now I want to speak to you guys about a topic that is very crucial to me as a crazy ranked player. So that's what we're going to be. What are the main issues that are reported to you in matchmaking in general?
I think some of the main issues that we're trying to improve in matchmaking are things like match quality and trying to get people to engage in ranked to make sure that everyone's on the same page when they're trying to get in there. Everyone has the motivation to win. I think that's something that we've seen has been not exactly what we're looking for. And we want to get players kind of back into that same place where everybody's working towards trying to win together at the same time. When you hit that play button, that's what you're looking for, is you're looking to get 4 teammates to go and win, and that's not always the case. So we're trying to make improvements to help you get into those high-quality matches.
Okay. So yeah, we spoke about problems. Let's now mention maybe solutions. So when it comes to ranked, what do you think could make the experience better for players?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, like I said, trying to improve match quality and smurfing, like Eric was talking about, are definitely our 2 major issues. The way we want to improve matchmaking is actually looking at our underlying MMR systems, the things that help, determine, hey, how good are you? How good am I? How do we make a team of players that are all, around the same skill level? And in 2026, we're rolling out a bunch of different updates that we obviously can't go super deep into because the system is very much behind the scenes and very technical, but it's aimed at making those matches a lot higher quality.
Now let's speak about rewards. We're humans. When you want to get us motivated into doing something, a candy, a salary can do the job. And in game, we're talking ranked rewards. So guys, can you tell me about it?
Yeah, I know ranked rewards are a hot topic for people. People, chasing the gun buddy, but maybe it's gotten, you've gotten your 6th, 7th, 8th gun buddy. Maybe you want something else. As I mentioned about motivation earlier, looking into next year, closer towards the end of next year, we're going to be looking at doing an update to the ranked rewards. We can't go into the specifics yet, but we're looking to give players something worth chasing and grinding for.
Okay, is that going to be more than a gun buddy or different than a gun buddy?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that is different and more than a gun buddy. Hopefully cooler. I think it's cooler, but hopefully players will agree.
Fair enough. Good teasing, Max. Thank you. So I think that's already it, Eric and Max. I was just listening to you chilling, and I just realized I have no more questions for you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so much
joining
for having
me.
us.
Enjoy the finals, and can't wait for what's next. Thank you so much, boys. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Yeah, thank you.
Merci. So next, I want to introduce Dan, Ryan, and Tiffy from the Life Balance team to talk about the philosophy behind the big updates that are coming soon after Champions. So guys, make some noise for Ryan, Tiffy, and Dan. Hello, hello, guys. Bonjour. It's a pleasure to have you in Paris, of course. We met yesterday, and we've been able to see your wonderful work since the beginning of VALORANT. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to start this with a big thank you for making the game what it is. But we're going to talk about, maybe not mistakes, but maybe things that you've learned in the past, what we're going, how we see the future of VALORANT. So looking back at it, what are some of the, let's say, biggest learnings that you had throughout the journey, whether they're negative or positive? Who feels comfortable to answer that?
Yeah, I can start off with this one. We think it's important that we take risks and that we're able to change the game regularly. Kind of when we started, we were a little bit too afraid to change things up. We could potentially break things or that we would stop people from playing the game. So we think it's more important to continuously assess whether or not things are going well or if we need to adjust things. So I think we got bolder. We learned to take more risks and to change things more actively.
Guys, can you tell us a little bit about this year's, this end of year patches? What are the team, philosophy behind those changes?
Yeah, so we want VALORANT to kind of be our forever game. So it's a game that we want you to play every year and many, many years to come. So we do try to strive for small balance patches throughout the year to kind of like address outliers. But sometimes we do need to take like a bigger swing at things in one go. And that's what kind of the goal of our end of year patches is. It's to really set up the foundations for next year so that when you come back into next year, the game is feeling fresh and we are ready for all the new content to come out too.
My next question is going to be about the mechanics of the game, right? Because we said it's a tactical FPS, donc c'est un FPS tactique VALORANT. Heading into 2026, should our players focus a bit more on improving mechanically? We're talking aim-wise, movements mainly, or do you still see like utility as a very big part of it?
Yeah, we still see utility as a really important foundational part of the game. Like, we never want abilities to feel so weak that they're not worth casting, and we think ability strategy is really interesting and one of the things that sets the game apart. We're kind of always viewing abilities, gunplay, and maps as this important set of things that we need to always keep in balance, and so we'll always keep assessing that. But we're not expecting this to dramatically change how most players play the game.
Improving mechanically is going to be important.
Yes, always,
right?
always.
always. That's a very good answer. So jumping on this, aren't you worried that at some point our game becomes, and VALORANT becomes a bit more too elitist with players that have a strong FPS background coming, from before? We've had initiatives like Game Changers. We know that the game is super attractive to casual players also. So what are your thoughts on this?
So ultimately, I think like what we're looking to achieve with these sets of changes is to basically increase the skill ceiling of like the upper end of ability mastery, as well as like the strategy of abilities will always be kind of accessible. That's why we have map targeted smokes. It's supposed to be easy to like put down and play. And same thing with like mechanically shooting. So I actually think this is us taking the right steps to make sure that accessibility is still always true for VALORANT, as well as keeping the high end up.
Okay. Now moving on to another topic that I am very interested about hearing is weapons. How do you balance weapons in general? We know that the outlaw is mainly used, in anti-eco. I mean, at least in pro, we see it every time. So, how do you balance those weapons in general? And are there issues that are part of the game for you guys?
So how we balance weapons is we tend to think that we want weapons to have a distinct purpose in the shop. That's why the Vandal is good at long-range fights and those one-taps, and the Phantom is better for shooting through smokes or you're scared to push into a shotgun.
Yeah.
We think that's a really exciting and important part of the game. And when we were making the Outlaw, we were looking for a space for an aggressive sniper to fit into the game, and we felt like an anti-eco weapon was good for that purpose. Yeah, I think I can also pass the mic to Ryan a little bit to talk a little bit more about weapon stuff too.
Yeah, so when we're looking at weapons, we're kind of looking at the whole thing of weapons, maps, and agents. And for all three of them, you kind of want to be able to play, your way, have your own play style. And so when we're looking at the arsenal, there's a lot of different levers that the team looks at, specifically around building it to match the identities that they want to have. We have bullet count, for example, if we wanted to be able to spray more or spray less, or recoil, or ways to make it more accurate or less accurate when you're running. So depending on the identity of the weapon, there's a lot of levers that we look at, but we want to make sure that you can use weapons with different agents and also on different maps. So they're pretty flexible.
So you can express your creativity through the weapons, right? So I think we're done about weapons, but we are not quite done yet, guys, because we have one more very important topic. So let's speak about Harbor. It kind of has become a meme in the community, Every time it gets picked in pro, everyone goes crazy because we're so not used to seeing him. So what are we getting with Harbor? Are we talking rework? Tell me about it, Tiffy.
Yeah, so the memes are going away. Harbor is getting a rework. He was one of our first agents that we identified to kind of be a candidate for one. You will have to wait until patch 11.10 for this Harbor rework to actually come out. As a heads up, we generally, when we're looking for agents to rework, we're finding candidates that have either long-term game balance kind of concerns, like gameplay clarity, or in general, when the fantasy of the agent just hasn't held up over time. Those are the times where we kind of look to rework them. And Ryan can talk a little bit more about specifically what we're trying to do with Harbor.
Ryan, you're going to tell me what we are ideally keeping from the agent that you love and what we might see change.
Yeah, so a lot of Harbor's identity is still true, and we wanted to make sure that was there, where he is kind of this initiator, controller hybrid, the controller that you want to push with the team. So you see a lot of that in the past with his Cascade and his other abilities. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be kind of shuffling around and making it so you think about those abilities in a different way. But we also have a couple of new abilities that we wanted to add through.
Is that hybrid spirit something that you want to keep for agents, in the future? As I was saying, Chamber, Due Sentinel, Viper Controller, Sentinel also. How do you guys see that? What's your vision?
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot from developing agents over the years, and kind of one of the things we've been thinking about is just, hey, how much do these role labels matter versus what's the right thing to do for a specific character? And I think we're trying to lean into the fact that characters, should be the best version of themselves regardless of this label. And so we will be, kind of leaning more into the hybrid space in the future and trying to create characters that are the most interesting for what'll make them work in the game rather than just sticking them in a label or a box.
Yeah, I think that's very cool, not being too over-focused on the role itself and, letting a little bit of liberty to our agents also, and I'm sure our player base will love that. Again, I haven't seen the time flown, but this was my last question for you guys, so thank you so much for joining me, all of you three, and we can't wait for what's next, especially Harbor, guys. Yeah. I'm so curious about Harbor, so merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the finals, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very, very glad to finally introduce Armand, Asdourian, and Coleman Palm so we can talk about modes and the future of modes in Valorant. Make some noise, please. Coleman, Armand, welcome. First of all, I'm sorry, Armand, I'm going to keep your pronunciation the French way. So both of you are working, on the live game team, right? So, working on modes and stuff. So what's next for modes in Valorant, guys? What do we have experienced maybe that we want to keep in the future? What's our direction?
Yeah, so for a while now, our focus for modes has been wanting to find modes that would be sort of permanent or evergreen, that we know players would want to play Val in that way sort of forevermore. But at this point in time, now that we have things like Swift Play, we have things like TDM, and Valorant's out on console, we feel pretty good about opening up the door and sort of reinvesting in some of the more experimental modes that we tried closer to launch.
So yeah, you were saying temporary modes, so that, triggers my ear. Are these kind of things something that we're, talking about that we have in mind, or is it different?
Yeah, so like Coleman said, limited time modes are largely what we're going to be building over the course of the next year or so. So we will be seeing more things like Snowball, but not really directly tied to like a holiday or an event in the same way. But there's some really cool stuff in the pipeline that we're excited to ship over the next year.
So this is going to be a bit more of a noob question, but how long does it take, implementing a new mode to Valorant? Like, how long are you guys working on that usually?
It really depends on the mode. I know that's like a little bit of a cop-out answer, but some of our modes tend to be a little bit more straightforward. So something like Swift Play, for example, was something that we actually used internally for playtesting. And once we started getting pretty excited, it wasn't too much time to actually get it ready and get it out to players. But other modes, things like Team Deathmatch or some of the more experimental modes that require us to change some of the bones of the game, can take a lot more time. So it's something that we're wanting to invest in and sort of like learn together. But yeah, depending on the mode and the scope, it can be a wide range of time.
It can be a wide range of different times, of course. So we have big news. We're talking about Skirmish, guys. Skirmish is coming to Valorant, and I think we're going to be able to discover some of the gameplay right behind us while you explain to me what's the idea behind Skirmish.
So Skirmish is a customs-only game mode where players go head-to-head in a small arena. It supports anywhere from 1v1 all the way up to 5v5, and players can play with or without abilities. And actually, Skirmish is available in custom starting right now.
Oh, already now? I didn't know that way. Which demands, which concerns from the community were we addressing? Were you trying to answer with that mode? Was it something that you had, as a feedback that you wanted to be able to practice more against each other?
Yeah, so the majority of the team that works on Valorant has been playing FPS games for as long as they've played games. And so they've seen a number of different versions of 1v1s or 2v2s or like small maps with quick fights across a number of different games. And so it's something that we've known that we've wanted to do for a really long time. And so at Riot, we have this ritual once a year where we have an internal hackathon called Thunderdome. And there was a team that put together a prototype for an early version of what Skirmish is today. And it was really promising, and we were like, you know what, maybe we take this one to the finish line. And so this is a product of that.
I mean, yeah, it looks promising, and I can't wait to play. So thank you, guys, for bringing this mode to life. Thank you for answering my questions. Can't wait to play it, and thank you for being there. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.